Man. Yes. Ooh, looking bad.
It's the people that give you money.
Where are my glasses?
No,
All right. Oh, good morning, everybody. If everyone can have their seats, please. If I face this way, is that okay? I don't want to breathe unnecessarily. All right. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to everybody. I hope 23 is filled with some interesting challenges and good cheer and success. So that's, I think that's all we can hope for. So I'd like to call the meeting of the January 10th, 2023 Kane County Board meeting to order. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Ellen,
Present.
Bates,
Bates, present.
Berman,
here.
Doherty,
Doherty present.
Davist,
Davist here.
Ford,
Ford present.
Gums,
Gums here.
All present.
Juby,
Juby here.
Kenyon,
And in here.
Caius,
Guys present.
Leonard,
Leonard here.
Lewis, Bender,
Here.
Molina,
Molina's present.
Roth,
Roth here.
Ches,
Sanchez present.
Silva,
Silva is here.
Strathman,
Strathman here.
Surgis,
Surge's present.
Tarver,
Tarver here.
Tepe,
Deppy here.
Williams,
Williams here.
Young,
Young here.
and you have a quorum.
Very good, thank you. We're going to have a special guest do our invocation, who I'll introduce after Mr. Sanchez leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
For which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jared. You can all sit down, please.
We can share.
I'd like to introduce our newest member of the appellate court, Chief Judge Kennedy, who is newly elected here and represents Kane County. I brought and asked, and he graciously accepted, Judge Kennedy to do our invocation because of the critical importance that recently and last year we've all found out about our judges and the courts. Jamie Mosser, Clint Hall, our civil division, all represent us well, and they need to be duly recognized. And since Chief Judge Hall has helped us so greatly in so many ways, and for such a long period of time with his insights and his guidance, I thought that Chris Kennedy, who I've recently met last year on the campaign trail, would provide his insights on what's going to be happening with his division, with the appellate court, and then perhaps with the Supreme Court. Turns out that Chris and I have similar backgrounds. He's from New York. I lived in New York for a long time. Yesterday, we discussed the difference between a New York bagel and a Aurora bagel, and I've yet to, I don't know which one is more successful. He is a graduate from SUNY Birmingham and attended John Marshall Law School, which I've been told that John Marshall is one of the major law schools that has judges. So there he is, proof testimony. He lives in Lake County. He's married, and I think you have how many children? 3? Sometimes they hide underneath the blankets. He has served, like I have, on the school board. And I would recommend for anybody who's listening, if you are ever interested in grassroots politics, being on a school board will teach you a great deal about children, about policy and the importance of education. So with that, I would like to turn the mic over to Chris, and he'll give our invocation.
Thank you, Corinne. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I have to admit that when I was asked to give an invocation, I thought maybe Corinne was asking the wrong person. The closest I've ever come to being a man of the cloth was being an extremely mediocre altar boy when I was 11 or 12 years old, and mediocre is generous. If I was to be graded on my work there, I would have gotten an F-. When I was on time, I'd put the vestments on backwards, and it was downhill from there. Luckily, I've applied myself in other endeavors, and I'm very grateful to have been invited to say a few words. I'm told this is your first board meeting as a new board, and it's a new year. So it's a time for reflection and resolution. Reflection is a pretty good description of the work of the courts. Everything we do looks backward in a sense. After all, every case that comes before us is about something that's already happened. We do have decisions that take effect for the future, but the policy work, the budgeting, all of that is for the political branches. And so I want to give you a couple of points that I think might help guide you in terms of the term ahead for the Supreme Court and the Appellate Court. There is much work to be done, and that's about all I can say about pending cases. So I will probably refrain from any discussion further on any of those items. But as a board member, I do have, as Corinne said, experience as a school board member, which if you've ever been on the school board, you know that everybody's in it just for the money. Salary is a nice round number, but you do have democracy from the very base, and you are in charge of people's two most important assets, their tax dollars and their children. And the stakes are very high, and it's instructive. And so a couple of things from the judicial branch that I think might be helpful for you. You will have no shortage of challenges here before you. COVID is starting its fourth year. Happy anniversary. Another variant's coming, may or may not impact public health. You still have the mental health and opioid crises that continue. Public safety trends and criminal justice reforms will have impacts on police strategies, court budgets. You still have infrastructure to maintain and improve, and there are many other below the radar things that I know all of you do. Addressing the needs of those without resources, those who are disabled. I have a child with very severe disabilities, and I did a lot of advocacy work for many years, and that is overlooked in almost every realm of life. You have to work with other branches of government, preserve the quality of life, the environment. You have to limit the effects and the growth of climate change, not to mention govern yourselves and each other, and serve the basic duties of your office and respond to constituents. All of this is underlaid with threats to the rule of law and to democracy itself from those who fail to grasp or simply disregard the importance of peaceful means of resolving disputes. Not to mention the ongoing weakening of the means of informing the public, which comes from the only private industry that's specifically mentioned and protected in the Constitution. That's the press. We've seen the weakening of local papers everywhere, and that leads to an information gap that can sometimes be filled with misinformation. And this is just a partial list. So good luck. The courts may or may not be called upon later to review some of the work that you do, but I can offer today, along with best wishes, some perspective. I was reminded of our perspective in across time, and looking back, which judges do. We're all historians to some extent, and I was trained in history. My brother actually recently sent to me my grandfather's coin collection. My brother was cleaning up, and knowing him, this is a once in a decade experience for him. And he sent to me our grandfather's coin collection. Modest coin collection. To call it a collection is generous. It was probably 25 coins, All of them, except for one, were of kings and queens because Grandpa's from Ireland. He was a subject of the British monarchy. And he had coins with Queen Victoria, King George. He had one American coin, which is this penny, and it's from 1831. And it's the only coin that didn't have a king or a queen on it. It's Lady Liberty, a fictitious character. But like the flag, it's a symbol of the Republic. And it's from 1831, like I said, 70 years before Grandpa was even born, only 42 years after the Constitution was born. I don't know how he got it or why he saved it. It was one of the few things that he brought with him from Ireland. But I like to think it symbolized for him a better place. He could never have known that his parents would die, leaving him, the oldest of 9, in charge of everyone else. They both died of tuberculosis in close succession. He had to get support somewhere. The only place he could go was America. And he had a cousin who brought him to New York. And he went from a farm with a donkey and a cart to New York City in the 1930s. And during his lifetime, he got to go from the horse and buggy era to see a man walk on the moon. He saw the rise and the fall of fascism and communism. And those both appear to be back again. But in his lifetime, the things that he saw were pretty incredible. And he held on to this. And I don't know if he contemplated what this meant in America, but in 1831, there were a few things going on. This was the first generation of Americans left without the founders. Only James Madison was around, and he would die the next year. So this was the first generation of Americans that minted this coin that were on their own from the founders. They'd been left with a legacy, but they couldn't go to anybody and ask for advice on a specific matter. It was up to them. And I'm reminded of Ben Franklin's statement. He was the elder statesman at the Constitutional Convention. He was asked on his way out at the end, and remember, these were secret proceedings. Nobody in the world knew what the Constitution would look like. Someone asked him, what have we got, a monarchy or a republic? And he says, a republic, if you can keep it. He turned it immediately to the citizen. He said, we've done our work by giving you a structure and a format, but it is up to you. So this first generation was trying to make what the founders envisioned. And there was a Frenchman, a French aristocrat, touring the country in 1831, and he wrote a book called On Democracy, Alexis de Tocqueville. Politicians love to quote him, except for the thing he said about elected officials. He said, Americans cheerfully reject from public office anyone who is qualified for public office. So politicians don't quote that part. But what they do quote is the character of the people, which he recognized as being essential to the character of the republic. People were individualistic, and yet they joined associations. They were self-reliant, and yet they engaged in collective activity for the betterment of their communities. And so through this work at the grassroots level is what we have created for ourselves. After all, this is ours. And just contemplating this one more time, I read recently, this country is really young. The 10th president of the United States, John Tyler, I didn't know that either, I had to look it up. But John Tyler was elected in 1841. He has a living grandson, 94 years old in Virginia. I don't know how that works, but it is, you can look it up. This country is incredibly young and new, and it requires constant renewal from all of us to participate in. What is the character that we see? Well, today there seems to be changes that we haven't seen in the past. A lot of us and them, either or, black and white, zero-sum polarization on every issue, public or private. Yet the country is closely divided. Any outcome could flip at the drop of a hat. And more concerning, not every person in America seems to agree that we're all bound equally to the rule of law. We all need to be an example of what we want in our republic. Our democracy is our responsibility. Requires the difficult work of persuasion. not force, compromise, not control, reasonableness, not rage. You who have been elected, the representatives, hold the temporary but important position of enormous trust. You have worked hard to get here, and your reward, more work. So congratulations. Probably more work than would correspond with your salaries, especially if you're in the private sector. And when the job gets frustrating, as it will, remember that you volunteered for this. Your selfless service to others is what tends to make human beings happiest. According to psychologists, we exist for others. That was one thing I retained from being an altar boy. So I'm just going to offer you a handful of suggestions that we try to live by in the judicial branch, and hope that you can apply it in the political branches. The first is due process. Procedure is critical. Everybody has to follow the rules. You can use procedure to your advantage, but you can't use it to stop the process, and you can't use it to destroy the process or the rights of others. Next is merit. Find out facts first, then determine where they lead you. Don't come up with a conclusion and then go muster a couple of facts to find support for that. In the courts, you don't start with outcomes. You find out the information that you need first, and the information has to be based on something provable. You can't just throw something out there. That which is unsupported is not going to be listened to in a court. And so if you have something you want to put forward, have evidence for it. Facts are only admissible when there is evidence, and it's got to be reliable. Candor. Nobody can hide or misrepresent the facts in a courtroom or the law. They face severe and immediate consequences. Civility. Advocates are bound to behave courteously and decently. Personal attacks are always out of bounds. A lawyer may say, Your Honor, my opponent is stupid and ugly, but that doesn't help their case, and that's going to get them held in contempt. And yet in public discourse, you see that quite a bit, and that doesn't necessarily help our democracy. Fairness, the courts exist to eliminate unfairness. Favoritism and bias are not allowed in any way. The influence of money in litigation is real. People with more resources can present more and present it better. But the courts have the power and the responsibility to ensure equal justice regardless of resources. Precedent. We rely on what happened in the past. We can't just have the rules change from day to day. This is not Twitter. We have to rely on what has happened in the past to guide us in the future. Reason. The courts have to articulate and explain how and why decisions were made. You don't always find that in the other branches. We have to justify our decisions, listing facts, precedents. We can't simply say we just have more votes or because we said so. My mom told me because we said so when I was a kid, and that led me straight to law school. So finally, the rule of law, win or lose, everyone accepts the outcome. And of course, you have the right to appeal. And when you do, we'll be there for you in Elgin to hear your appeal. Under the Constitution, the courts only consider cases and controversies. It's up to you to make policies and the budgeting that supports them. Those are your responsibility. You're answerable not only to the people who voted for you and supported you, but to those who opposed you and voted for your opponent, or those who couldn't or wouldn't vote at all. Remember all of them, and together we can foster a greater respect for the rule of law and preserve our representative form of democracy, a republic, if you can keep it. And I hope you will, as we've been able to keep this symbol of our family and our democracy. So thank you very much for inviting me to speak, and I wish you the best of luck. Thanks.
Inspiring words, absolutely inspiring words. So Chris, don't be a stranger. Not at all, not at all. All right, to move forward, we have a large agenda, and I was told we have about a 3-minute paper to go through. So may I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of December 13th, 2022? Thank you,
Roth
Mr.
makes the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Roth. Any changes to the minutes? Hearing none. And online clerk, please call the roll.
Bates,
Ellen?
second. Need a second?
Bates,
Yes.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Doherty,
Forty, yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Ford. Mr. Ford. Gums,
Gums, yes.
Iqbal,
Paul, yes.
Juby,
yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Lewis, Linder,
Linder, yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Silva,
Silva, yes.
Rathman,
Rathman, yes.
Surgis,
Burgess, yes.
Tarver,
Tarver, yes.
Pepe,
Tepe, yes.
Williams,
Williams, yes.
Young.
Young, yes.
It passes.
It passes very good.
And that's
Thank you.
Ford, yes, too.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. Is there any public comment?
Madam Chair.
Somebody,
Madam Chair, public comment.
Yes, hold on just a second, please. Is
Oh.
this,
This is Mr. Avalar. Just raised my hand.
Mr. Avalar? Yes, we have some people who have signed up.
Okay, I
Um,
thought you were asking. I'll wait.
All right, thank you. Ms. Botke? Kate, are you here? No.
okay.
Elizabeth Myers?
Actually, it's Fred Myers. Elizabeth was my paralegal. I am simply here to answer any questions that may come up concerning the rezoning of 3 South 152 Bliss Road in Sugar Grove.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Myers. The Frost family is here as well, who is here ready to speak if there is any need.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I had a comment.
yes. Mr. Berman.
I don't know if anybody else noticed, but our lights have been repaired after 2 years, so. Thank you.
Good recognition, thank you. You did not sign up, Mr. Avalar? Did you sign up
That is-
online?
I did not. If you were not taking anything from the floor, then I will just wait till another time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That will come next month. It's always good to hear you speak. Now, I'm going to change the agenda a little bit since we have a number of people waiting in the back for recognition. So Sheriff Hayne, I'll turn the microphone over to you.
Oh, we'll just go right here.
Sorry, we have a little crisis going on at the sheriff's office right now, but nothing we can't navigate. So I was out in the hallway on the phone. I want to thank you all for letting us take the time to honor these 3 very special gentlemen here after they retired from spectacular careers at the Kane County Sheriff's Office. You're looking at 90 years plus of law enforcement leadership and experience that served Kane County very proudly. So I've prepared an honorary resolution that summarizes all 3 of their careers. And of course, if you've ever spent any time in this building, you'll recognize Under Sheriff Pat Gangler, Commander Chris Peeler, and Captain Kevin Williams. And the resolution reads, whereas Under Sheriff Pat Gangler, Commander Chris Peeler, and Captain Kevin Williams recently retired from the Kane County Sheriff's Office. And whereas Under Sheriff Gangler began his career with our Sheriff's Office in 1996 and served in many different roles and ranks from patrol deputy to narcotics investigator to sergeant, lieutenant, and ultimately under sheriff for 3 different sheriffs, guiding our county's law enforcement through some of the most difficult situations in our history. you come back today just for a little bit? I think that was a no. Fair. Whereas Commander Chris Peeler joined our sheriff's office in 1993 after serving in the U.S. Army. He served in various frontline roles to include patrol deputy, detective, narcotics investigator, SWAT team leader, sergeant, and police commander. In 2013, Commander Peeler heroically saved 2 deputies who were pinned down by a man with a rifle by shooting him off of a roof. In 2017, he was shot in the line of duty during a brave hostage rescue at Delnor Hospital. And whereas Captain Kevin Williams joined our sheriff's office in 1992 and served in many capacities across the agency to include corrections officer, sheriff's deputy, sergeant in patrol and investigations, and lieutenant in charge of various responsibilities throughout his career. Captain Williams also ran for sheriff twice in 2006 and 2010, driven by his love and compassion for our agency and personnel. Kevin is seen as an icon of our office and a sincere friend to all. Now let it be resolved by the Kane County Board that we hereby honor the remarkable careers of these outstanding individuals who have given their lives dedication to the service of our great community. And since we're out with the old now and in with the new, I want to make sure everybody met the first woman under sheriff of Kane County, Amy Johnson.
The bravery, I mean, the bravery of these men and women who go out on the front lines. Oh my gosh, to be admired, to be admired. All right, so my turn. First of all, I'd like to recognize that on Monday, the 16th, there's going to be 2 separate celebrations. The first is King County's birthday, and that's on January 16th, 1836. So pretty exciting. And 5 years after the coin that Judge Kennedy was reflecting upon. The other one that I'd like to bring to your attention is Martin Luther King Day. And when I was traveling, I came back from a delightful week and a half visiting family in Alabama. I'm old enough to be able to witness as a child the impact of the civil rights movement. And it had a very lasting impression upon me. And I'd like to share with you some thoughts I had when I was visiting Selma, Alabama. Now, Selma is not a place that most people would go to when you're on vacation. It's a serious place, but I learned a lot about it. And I'd like to share some of the things that I found out when I was visiting Selma, and I won't be long, but this is in honor of Martin Luther King. On March 7th in 1965, some of you were not born yet, so here's your history. After the murder of a returning veteran who was protecting his mother from an attack by the Ku Klux Klan, and the murder of a pastor who stepped in front of an angry crowd of segregationists, 800 people gathered together to walk across the Edmund Pettus Bridge to Montgomery to lobby their state legislators. They marched to advocate for equal opportunity to vote. In 1965, only 2% of Selma's eligible 15,000 Black voters were allowed to vote. Those demonstrators, what would become known as Bloody Sunday, were greeted with whips, cattle prodders, and violence. And yet these brave men and women persevered. On March 23rd, that crowd grew to 8,000. And once again, together, they crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge. Again, they were met with angry, violent, and a fearful crowd. Led by Martin Luther King Jr., the 8,000 stopped and prayed. The whips, cattle prodders, and guns were put aside, and the demonstrators began their 53-mile pilgrimage to Montgomery. When they reached Montgomery, Martin Luther King gave a speech, and I'd like to read to you a brief excerpt of that speech entitled "How Long, Not Long," which was delivered on the state capitol of Montgomery, Alabama. Last Sunday, more than 8,000 of us started on a mighty walk from Selma, Alabama. They told us we wouldn't get there. And there were those who said that we would get there only over their dead bodies. But all the world today knows that we are here and we are standing forth before the forces of power in the state of Alabama saying, we ain't going, let nobody turn us around. Today, I want to tell the city of Selma. Today, I want to tell the state of Alabama. Today, I want to tell the people of America and the nations of the world that we are not about to turn around. We are on the move now. Yes, we're on the move and no wave of racism can stop us. The burning of our churches will not deter us. The bombing of our homes will not dissuade us. The beating and killing of our clergymen and young people will not divert us. The wanton release of their known murderers will not discourage us. We are on the move now. Like an idea that time has come, not even the marching of the mighty armies can halt us. We are moving to the land of freedom. And I ask you today, how long will it take? Somebody's asking, how long will prejudice blind the visions of men? I come to say to you this afternoon, however difficult the moment, howsoever frustrating the hour, it will not be long because truth crushed to earth will rise again. On Monday, we'll be given a day off. A day off of remembrance of Martin Luther King Jr. Due to that march, the Voting Rights Act was passed and signed shortly thereafter by President Johnson. You remember last year's redistricting and the drawing of the Kane County's district map, which included new minority districts, was because of those 8,000 people who marched those 53 long miles. So with that, my recognition of Martin Luther King. So let me get my notes. We're going to have nominations for the jobs. We've had a change in the Jobs Committee, so perhaps, Anita, I'll let you lead that discussion, so I can look for my notes.
Okay, sure. So we had two people that couldn't serve on the Jobs Committee, which is Mr. Kenyon and Mr. Leonard. And so we need to replace them. And so we have suggested Cheryl Stratman and Mr. Young, whose first name I can't remember, sorry. David Young, sorry, thank you very much. We haven't officially met yet, but we're going to. And so we would just like to make sure that everybody's aware of the change.
Do we have consensus for those changes? Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Then Cheryl and David, welcome to the committee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're all still getting to know each other, which is good.
And we will be meeting Friday morning. Be there.
Watch out for her. All right, next is zoning petitions.
Good morning, Madam Chair.
Morning, Mr. Ford. You want to present those for us, please?
Yes, I'll take care of that. Our first petition is petition 4601. It's in Blackberry Township. The petitioner is the Frost Family Trust. The location is 1 N 545 Brundage Road. The proposed is rezoning from F District Farming to E1 District Estate Residence and Residential and E3 District Estate Residential to allow a second residential parcel to be created on the north of the existing home. With the 2040 plan, resource management proposed open space, it meets that. Objectors has been none. Recommendation, the Regional Planning Commission does not apply. And our Historical Preservation Commission's approval. And with our zoning board, it has approval with the following stipulations, which are listed below, which some of them have to do with meeting flooding and water management requirements. So with that, I make the motion to move it.
Is there a
Have a second.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Any discussion on this?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Iqbal.
yeah, I have a small comment. I think the location notes a name which is misspelled. I think it should be Burnage Road, if I'm correct.
Where is it?
Brundage, H-E-E, not
It's the third line on the page in number 3.
That's the correct spelling. That's correct. It is. correct. It is, yeah. Looks odd.
There is also a Burnage Road, but that this property is on Brundage.
Oh, right, okay,
Yeah.
okay, sorry, thank you.
It stands. Okay. It is spelled correctly. Correct. And we can ask Mr. Franz, is that spelled correctly? Okay, thank you.
So Madam Chair, I also want to say I have personally visited this property and I think it's a great project for the area.
Good, good. Well, with nothing else, clerk, please call the roll.
Did we get a second? Did we get a second?
Yes, we did. Davis.
Okay,
Mr. Davis,
okay.
second.
Okay, roll call. Allen,
Allen, aye.
Bates,
Bates, yes.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Doherty,
Doherty, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Gums,
yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Juby,
Yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Silva,
Silva, yes.
Strathman, Surgis, Tarver,
Carver, yes.
Tepe,
Debbie, yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Young. That passes unanimously.
Congratulations. Have fun building the new house. All right, Mr. Ford, next.
Thank you. Our second petition is petition number 4602, which is 3 South 152 Bliss Road. Which is petitioner also is 3 South 152 Bliss Road LLC. It's in Blackberry Township. The proposal is rezoning a portion of the property from F District Farming to F1 District Rural Residential. 2040 Plan Agricultural it meets, objectors has been none. The recommendation is from our zoning board, which approves it with the following stipulations, which are listed below. And with that, I make the motion to approve it.
Williams, second.
And Mr. Williams seconds. Thank you. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Allen, aye.
Ellen, aye. Okay, Bates,
Bates, yes.
Berman, Doherty,
Doherty, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Gums,
Yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Juby,
Yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Dice, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Silva,
Silva, yes.
Strathman,
Yes.
Surgis,
Burgess, yes.
Tarver,
Carver, yes.
Tepe,
Debbie, yes.
Williams,
Williams, yes.
Young.
Young, yes.
That passes.
Okay, very good. Congratulations. So now we have Farmland Protection Commission appointments. Mark, do you want to come up and speak to this?
Good morning. Mark Van Kerkhoff, Kane County Development Department. Also online is Janice Hill, who is our Farmland Protection Manager and key staff person for the Farmland Protection Commission. Would you like, if you'd like, I could have Janice give a brief overview of what the commission does and a little bit about the folks and any questions that you might have. Janice, are you online? Oh. Janice is right here. Thank you.
Mark Shadow.
Thank you, Janice.
Don't recognize that. Good morning. We have today.
The microphone.
Oh, how's this? Better?
Better.
Okay. We have before you today some recommendations for appointments to our Farmland Protection Commission. We've had a Farmland Protection Ordinance 0167 since 2001. Some of these commission appointments have expired, so we're before you today recommending some appointments. The ordinance itself calls for a set of recommendations. We have the chair of the Kane County Board as chair of the Development Committee, because we didn't have an ag committee at that time, so it's now the Agriculture Committee, representative from the Kane County Farm Bureau, and 6 members at large, and then the chairs of the RPC and Historic Preservation Commission are ex officio. So for appointment today, for your advice and consent, would be Joe White, which is the representative from the Kane County Farm Bureau. They have chosen him again. That would be a continuation. Mike Kenyon here, of course, the chair of our Agriculture Committee. Mark Bernard, farmer from Rustic Road Farm. He's a new recommendation here. Mark Schramer from Farm Direct Black Angus, a meat producer out in Maple Park. He'll be a continuing member. Beth Gerke, also a farmer, previous Farmland Protection Commission member. Will Kuipers, a new member, which we're very happy to have, a second generation farmer from Kuipers Apple Orchard. And then Christina Foster, another new recommendation. She is the farmer at Wilden Farms down in Sugar Grove, and she has just purchased her parents' farm. So that's awesome. Another multi-generational. Holly Hudson, who is, if you haven't met her, she's a resident here in Kane County from the Elgin area, but also an aquatic biologist who works at CMAP, a very senior member at CMAP. So those are our members that we recommend, and we're looking forward to a meeting shortly.
Do we have your consensus?
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
I hate to throw a wrench in the works here, but I read the ordinance and the ordinance says that the chairman of the Kane County Board is supposed to be on this committee.
Yes.
Has this ordinance been modified since 1967 or 2001, excuse me?
No, that would be correct.
So I will be also
Yes.
nominated on this committee. Looking forward to it as I continue to learn about farms in the industry.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have consensus. Thank you. Now, I have to say, I'm learning a great deal about agriculture. 2 things as I've gone through this tenure. I was interested in many things, but I can't believe how interested I am gaining more knowledge about the industry of farming and what that's all about. Being a tomato grower sometimes, and roads and transportation. Who'd have figured? And now I can't go past a bridge or an intersection without looking at right-ins and right-outs and taking a look at timing. It becomes addictive. I know a little, and I don't want to be dangerous. So now, are there any committee updates?
Madam Chair? Well, in my case, it has to be, it happens to be the structures that we are using as our offices and buildings for service around here as chairman of the admin committee. Just a short update on a few items. The Judicial Center replacement project closed out completely before the holidays, on schedule, well before it got really cold, thank goodness. We are entirely on new boilers with outside air intake for combustion and air sensors for safety. So it's a distinct improvement with a a finishing cost of only $450,000, which the originals were close to $700,000. So that was from our capital fund. Item 2 is the Judicial Center courtroom renovation, which I guess we lost all our judges. They will attest that Judge Hull is very happy, has closed out the first week of January on schedule. And that was a $1.2 million from the judicial facility and capital fund. Item 3 was a courthouse electrical switch gear, which you may have heard about coming through here occasionally as it fails, has been replaced on the 3rd Street Courthouse. And the corrected issues with the electrical service delivery in the building have been done at $205,000 from the capital fund. Item 4, energy contracts executed for the Constellation Energy, a 5-month agreement for the Judicial Center to be renegotiated when the solar farm goes into effect this next spring and summer, and a 23-month agreement for all others. The rate is increased for electricity per kilowatt hour by almost double. So keep that in mind in our budgeting. Delivery charges are just moderately higher. This does not include the City of Geneva, City of St. Charles electric rates as well. And the solar will be active in May, possibly April. So, and those are the updates. I invite you to join us. Our executive director will give updates on all capital projects tomorrow morning at the our regular administration committee.
Thank you, Chris. Is there anyone else? Any other committee updates? Yes,
Madam
Mr.
Chair, I believe you should speak on this one. You have formed a new committee. It's an ad hoc committee. It's called Ad hoc Open Meeting Acts Committee to look at what constitutes an attendance at the board.
That is correct.
And you have asked 3 of us to serve on it.
Correct.
And we will have a first meeting on the 17th, but we need a board's approval to go forward.
I do not believe we need board approval
Okay.
to develop an ad hoc committee. It can be appointed. Is that a yes? I'm sorry, please.
The chairman is able to appoint an ad hoc committee.
Yes, I am. And there was such a lively discussion that we had at exec. I want to make sure that we have the input and that we have full disclosure for our public, because it's going to impact on how they're going to perceive our participation on committee meetings and board meetings. And I want this board to be able to get a full understanding about the potential changes that are going to be impacting all of you and your attendance, physical attendance at meetings. So that's why I thought we would do an ad hoc and that 3 questions could be answered. So when we go to the executive committee, recommendation is made and we don't belabor that conversation at exec. So we can take care of business in a timely manner.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Iqbal. Is there anybody else? Yes, sir.
Surges, are we notified of ad hoc committees when they're put together? I mean, did I just miss it?
Just now.
On the agenda. I mean, it's been posted.
It's to summarize, it was done last week, very end of it.
Mhm.
And the date was fixed 17th of this month, 2 o'clock, for the committee to have the first meeting. Probably it will be the last meeting, hopefully.
Mhm. It should be just one and done.
And isn't it?
One and done?
One and done.
There's not that much to go over. It's pretty black and white, but I want to make sure that all questions are answered.
Yeah, just to brief folks up, there are 3 things on the agenda, actually. Those of us who were here in pre-COVID era, the attendance was in person, except if it was excused by the chairman for some reason. And then after when COVID struck, all rules were suspended, and then you can have it video, audio, or in person. 3 modes were allowed. But now the COVID has lost his punch. So should we go back to pre-COVID, or should we embrace some new technology, or do nothing? Those are the issues.
That'll all be addressed next week. Okay, we can define it and then bring recommendation to you. All right, okay. All right, very good. So now we move on to our resolutions and ordinances. Would anyone like to remove any of the formatting? And because of the new format with Legislar, we're just forgetting we have number 6 today. So if there's any confusion on your agenda, 6 was inadvertently removed. No prejudice against the number 6, but it just is not included in your agenda packet.
Madam Chair, Gumbs.
Numbering them off. That was all. Simple. Who's speaking, please?
Gumbs.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Michelle?
okay. I would like to pull 2331.
Okay, anybody else?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
2320, please. 2320.
Mr. Iqbal?
Madam Chair, 2301. 08. 09.
Hold on, give me a minute here. 8.
uh, 23-15. And okay, that's it.
It's
Yeah.
1, 8, 9, and 15. Anybody else?
Madam Chair, this is Molina speaking.
Yes, Ms. Molina.
I need to pull 23-06. I will be abstaining from that vote.
Anybody else? Okay, very good. May I have a motion, a second, to approve the consent agenda, removing items number 01, 06, 08, 09, 15, and 20,
Bates moves.
and
31.
and 40, and 41.
31.
Bates moves.
31.
Berman second.
31.
31, not 41.
Yeah, Madam Chair was 31.
All righty. Clerk, please call the roll.
Okay, Ellen. Ellen, for vote to consent agenda?
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay. Bates,
Bates, yes.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis.
Yep. Davis, yes.
Okay, Doherty. Doherty, yes. Thank you. Ford,
Ford, yes.
Gums,
Gumbs, yes.
Iqbal,
Paul, yes.
Juby,
Juby, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
Davis, yes.
Okay, Doherty.
Doherty, yes.
We're recording. Hey, what's going on?
Are we all right?
Okay. Lewis was yes. Linder,
Linder, yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Silva,
Silva, yes.
Strathman,
Yes.
Sturgis,
Burgess, yes.
Tarver,
Carver, yes.
Tepe,
Tepe, yes.
Williams,
Williams, yes.
Young.
Young, yes.
That passes.
Passes. All right, may I have a motion and a second to approve item number 23-01?
Sanchez moves.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Iqbal?
Ma'am, I would be abstaining on this resolution, and the reason is if you read this resolution, it borrows the language from the standing committee section 2-448, and it mentioned that this committee is an ad hoc committee. So I think we are not following the due process. We are abusing the Robert's rule by following one section and doing another. So this committee should be restructured, I believe. It should become a part of a standing committee, say a subcommittee. It has been going on for many years, and I hope it will keep going for a few more years. So I think for us to follow proper procedure, I think we should move this committee to a subcommittee, and I think we should look into it. I will abstain it in this form.
All right, so you're abstaining from the vote, but your recommendation is to have it reconsidered from an ad hoc committee to a subcommittee, which is a different item from what's on the agenda. So we can further that conversation if appropriate. Is there any other discussion on this?
Madam Chair, if I may,
Yes.
Sanchez here. This resolution essentially just makes more official the process for our American Rescue Plan program manager to make small purchases, such as a new monitor, printing services, things along that line. We have budget lines for such purposes, and this just allows him to make those purchases without having to go to committee each time. So he can give us a monthly report on any small expenditures along this line, and we don't require a resolution each time. So it's just administrative ease in this resolution. And that's it.
Any other discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Ellen,
Ellen, I.
Bates,
Bates, yes.
Berman,
Yes.
Doherty,
Doherty, yes.
Gavest,
Gavest, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, present.
Juby,
Juby, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Lena,
Molina, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Silva,
Silva, yes.
Strathman,
Rathman, yes.
Surges,
Burgess, yes.
Tarver,
Tarver, yes.
Tepe,
Tempe, yes.
Williams,
Williams, yes.
Young.
Young, yes.
It passes. Very good. Thank you. May I have a motion, a second to approve item number 23-06?
Caius move.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Surges. Is there any discussion on this? None. Clerk, please call the roll.
Ellen,
Alan, I.
Bates,
Bates, yes.
Berman, Doherty. Mr. Doherty.
Doherty, yes.
Thank you.
Doherty, yes.
Yep. Davist,
Gavest, yes.
Ford. Mr. Ford.
Ford,
Gums?
yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ford. Gums,
Gums, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Juby,
Juby, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Molina.
Molina abstains.
Okay, Roth,
Roth, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez abstain.
Silva,
Silva, yes.
Strathman,
Rathman, yes.
Surges,
Burgess, yes.
Tarver,
Tarver, yes.
Tepe,
Tempe, yes.
Williams,
Williams, yes.
Young.
Young, yes.
That passes.
Very good. May I have a motion, and a second to approve item number 23-08?
Caius move.
Sanchez seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez, Mr. Caius. Mr. Iqbal.
Ma'am, 4 years ago, this department of OM was transferred to the sheriff, and he wanted this department to be transferred. It was a great enthusiasm that that's the proper fit. Now, 4 years after, it's coming back to the county. No problem. I mean, it could come back, but for the record, we want to know what were the reasons that it went to sheriff and now it's coming back. If somebody can elaborate for the record.
Mr. Onset, could you explain to me why, you shared the information with me, if you don't mind, why it was transferred? It was a fiscal matter for the sheriff to request the budget part of it to go to his office.
Yes, I don't know all of the information regarding that. I just was aware that at the time when the emergency was declared, where individuals within the county, I think it was the Director of Public Health, and I believe it was the Director of Office of Emergency Management. Those were the two individuals that had the power to make emergency purchases on behalf of the county related to COVID. And as a result of that, and because of the close connection between the Office of Emergency Management and the sheriff, I hope I'm not putting words in anyone's mouth. My understanding was it made more sense at that time for those to merge under the sheriff so that they could be better coordinated in making those emergency purchases that related to that area of emergency management. So that was my understanding of why that occurred at that time, and why it's moving back now. I'm not aware of those reasons, so I can't speak to that.
Okay, thank you.
The origin.
I didn't get the answer, but that's all. Yeah, thank you.
Are there any other questions on this? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Ellen,
Ellen, I.
Bates,
Bates, yes.
Berman,
Yes.
Doherty,
Yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Juby,
Juby, yes.
Kenyon, Caius,
Yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Silva,
Silva, yes.
Strathman,
Strathman, yes.
Surges, Tarver,
Tarver, yes.
Tepe,
Deppie, yes.
Williams,
Williams, yes.
Young,
Yes.
passes.
Thank you. May I have a motion, a second to approve item number 23-09?
Caius will move.
Mr. Caius,
Sanchez seconds.
Mr. Second, this is a team here.
Move along.
Yeah, just keep it going.
Mr. Iqbal.
Yes, ma'am. I have, no problem to the reporting procedure that is being changed. What they're doing is putting the small sub account into one big account. But what it showed is very disturbing. It shows that our electric bill, just the electric bill, is $1.87 million. And that's too much. And I asked the question to the director, Mr. Roger Fonstock, and he was very kind to give me an answer. He said it is in line with what we have been doing. So it's not, it has not gone up too much, but that's what we are doing. That's what we have been paying. And I believe it is excess amount of money that we are paying, and something should be done to curtail the use of electric, whether it's a LED light bulb or some other machine that are being used, but we have to look into it.
Well, I think we all would agree with that efficiency of our resources needs to be monitored. And that due to our energy policy, those issues are being addressed. But we have older buildings. And
Yeah, I recognize we are building 29 buildings, but this amount is just tremendous amount of money, and it's going to go way up this year.
I think perhaps at one of our next meetings, we can take a look at a comparison of what other counties and local municipalities are paying for their electrical costs, so that we're not looking at it as a silo, but we're looking at it as an equitable comparison. And I have to say that because of recession and et cetera, even my own utility costs have gone up. And I think many of you are experiencing the same thing.
Madam Chair, Bates, please.
Yes, Ms. Bates.
We are doing some audits of the energy use of the buildings, and may I suggest more solar fields? So there are some good answers to this, and I'd like energy and environmental to be involved. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. All right. Any other discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Ellen,
Allen, aye.
Bates,
Bates, yes.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Doherty,
Doherty, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Juby,
Yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Silva,
Silva, yes.
Rathman,
Rathman, yes.
Surges,
Burgess, yes.
Carver, Tepe,
Zeppy, yes.
Williams,
Williams, yes.
Young.
Young, yes.
Passes.
Very good. Thank you. May I have a motion and a second to approve item number 23-15?
Caius will
Bates
move.
moves. Bates second.
Thank you. All right. Any discussion? Mr. Iqbal?
Yes, ma'am. This is about the plumbing maintenance and repair. And it asks for $1 million for 1 year. In one single year, $1 million just to repair the faucet and the toilets. And that's a lot of money
And
for 29 buildings. And I asked the director, what's the reason why it is so high? And he says, we are repairing the work that was done shoddily by either contractor or architect specs. And 2 buildings that they are working on, that they should not be working on, is the new building, multi-function building, which is the coroner's building, which was completed 2 years ago. And they are reworking the plumbing lines. And the same thing with another building called JC Building, I believe. And so we are doing work which we should not be doing, the taxpayer should not be paying for the mistakes of the contractor or the architect. And I ask why we are not following the wrongdoers, why we are not suing them. If they did something wrong, why should we pay? Why should the taxpayer pay? And I got 2 different answers. I was told by Edmund that the county decided we are not going to go after anyone.
well, I'm sorry, the county is not going to do
The
what?
county decided we are not going to go after the contractors or the architects. And I asked the state attorney's office if they are aware of this decision. And they said, no, they are not aware of this decision. So I like you to pursue this thing, or the board to pursue this thing, allow the state attorney's office to look into it. Who did things wrong and why are we paying it?
Mr. Fonstak?
All right, this is Roger Fonsack from IT and Building Management. So the budget that you see for the plumbing goes far beyond the bathrooms. It includes water softener systems for things like the jail, of which we all know the situation in the jail. You have, custodial care of inmates there. You have to make sure that the water softeners and the water treatment systems, which are all plumbing, that those are taken care of. We have the same circumstances at the Juvenile Justice Center with water care for water softeners. It also includes the plumbing related to boilers, water heaters, replacement of water heaters, replacement of boiler equipment. We did a water softener, just one water softener in the jail, of which I believe there's maybe a half a dozen. Just one of them in the tank was almost $30,000 to address water softening. And we're also working on replacing valves that control the temperature of different things to make sure that people aren't getting scorched in the showers or in the kitchen. There's a lot of things like that over a long period of time, it's very cheap and inexpensive to not maintain or take care of something. It's expensive to replace it or repair it and put it back into service. So we have new people managing maintenance. They're going through all of the buildings and they're discovering things that, over time someone has not addressed. They're trying to build lists of things and schedules so that they can improve the maintenance and get them on a regular scheduled maintenance. I'm hopeful that once they do that, then we'll have a better handle on the ongoing maintenance costs. This is based on what the county board is budgeting for maintenance in 2023. They're asking to use a group of vendors to spend the budgeted amount that the board approved. We spent similar amount less than this though last year because of the inactivity and interruptions that were going on. So we're still catching up on maintenance. We're creating maintenance schedules for all the buildings. All the major mechanicals are going to be into management system for the purpose of performing the scheduled maintenance. So those are all good things. And the buildings you have 1 million square feet of buildings. So spending $1 per square foot a year may sound better than saying that you spend $1 million. We also have, like I said, the custodial care. We have evening and weekend work that has to happen. And all, if something breaks, we had a pipe break over the holidays and flood out an entire level of a building. Emergency services to fix the plumbing and the piping. It was quite an expensive ordeal. It was taken care of very timely over the weekend, and service was restored. It was more than $10,000 for that one day, one episode. So I don't want you to be, confused by the type of work that's being done. It's not toilets and urinals and plumbing. It's major mechanical systems. We do take care of the small plumbing as well. But what happens with this is that when you're dealing with a major mechanical system failure, there is not the time to get a plan set, a bid, a spec, go out and get a bid, get it back, get it awarded, run it through 60 months worth of county board or 60 days worth of county board committees. So we need authorization to act on things that are happening in these buildings in a timely manner. So that's what we're trying to do. I do think that, it's probably the upper limit of what we would spend on plumbing and building maintenance. And I'm hopeful that it'll be less than that. As far as the contractual work that happened, most of those items are from buildings that were built, maybe the multipurpose building was finished 2 years ago, 3 years ago. They're outside of the 1-year warranty and the punch list that was originally done. Most of our other buildings are significantly older. So we're working in the jail was built in 2007-8 timeframe. The building is, pushing 15 years old. So there's a lot of mechanical systems, plumbing and other things that we have to deal there. So those are the types of things that we're dealing with. And, we're recommending approval of getting the plumbers on board. We do have building maintenance directors that are managing the oversight of this. And I hope that this will be a much better experience in a year. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to.
I think Mr.
answer.
Sturgis.
Madam Chair, Roger, thank you. Roger, I read this to be a contract that's up to a budgeted amount and
Yes.
that you're just trying to choose a vendor.
There's
that you
3
would-
vendors that we're going to contract with. One of them is going to decline because they don't want to, I believe one of them wasn't going to provide a bond.
Yeah.
So we have 4 of them listed. We're not done with the contracts yet. So
To have a stable of vendors and an amount that's budgeted up
Yes.
to, I'm okay with that.
The cost of deferred maintenance is expensive. Now, we all know that. I think we've all experienced that. So there is a cost.
I had a question. Roger, you said a lot of it was catch up or, stuff that hasn't been
Yep.
maintained properly.
Yes.
What % of that million would you say that is? Because
Which-
eventually,
we have like 29, 30 buildings. So they're all in varying degrees of issues. But a lot of just general, preventative maintenance annually. I mean, as long as I've been involved the last year and prior to that, maybe a few years, there's areas where there just hasn't been a plan for certain, maintenance to be done, or the plan wasn't executed.
so once we get caught up and we're doing the maintenance, what would the, like next year or 2-year budget from now look like? Would it be coming down?
So right now you'd move to capital replacement of depreciating equipment. We have $25 million that was in the plan that was produced for a 5-year plan for capital depreciation and replacement of mechanical systems, roofs, air conditioning, everything in between. So I don't think you're going to see, a lot of relief in terms of the capital replacement and doing projects, but hopefully with preventative maintenance, the equipment that's in good repair will last longer. It'll last its livable life.
Right.
That's what we're looking for. I don't know that we could give you a number.
You couldn't
It just-
qualify it. Okay.
Yeah. Once we
But
get,
that's the goal, is to try to get it caught
yeah,
up. so- yeah.
what we will have is actuals
Right.
from the years. And that's what I know Mr. Onzik will look at the actuals. And there are adjustments that he will recommend and say, over the last 3 years, your actuals were this much less than what you budgeted. Can we reduce it? And Joe's very diligent about that, telling us, where because it's in a particular maintenance item,
Right.
when it's the end of the year, we return it back to the general fund. So it's not money that goes towards anything other than maintenance.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Mr.
Kenyon, I'd like to thank Mr. Iqbal for calling our attention to this. And Roger for his explanation. This is what's happening. And we have to fix it. If you have a house, faucets break, water heaters and all that is ongoing, and it's not somebody's fault. We always want to blame it, but it's a good thing that we're aware of what it costs to make a county work.
Mhm. Indeed it is. Indeed it is.
Even if it was all new, you'd still have to hire a plumber to make sure it was working, and you have to have two plumbers. They don't work alone. They have to have somebody to talk to.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
One other comment that I would make is that in the timing of calling out for plumbing services, there are a variety of skills that plumbers do better than others. And there's also availability issues. If plumbers are working on a commercial contract that's paying them, they are not going to leave their commercial contract, abandon a good customer and come work on our project on a short notice. So what we're trying to do is get some diversity, get other businesses that we can lean on. And we've talked with purchasing about using a rotation of the vendors so that we have some equity with the vendors. But in the past, it has been a challenge where if you only have one vendor and they're not available and you have an emergency, it puts you in a tight spot. So we're trying to fix some of that as well.
I do have to say that plumbers do save lives. Clean water, critically important to us all and to our mechanicals.
He has the red carpet.
Yeah,
You
he
don't
does.
care about the other, but you're glad the plumber's coming to fix the leak.
Madam Chair, I didn't get the answer about the new building. That was it's under warranty for 1 year. We had a punch list and things were not caught in the punch list. So are we saying the architect did perfect job? So we cannot go after them? Architect's work does not have warranty for 1 year. It goes much longer, 14 years. So are we saying architect didn't do anything wrong? Or did we try to determine anything?
We've met with the state's attorney's office and we met with the construction management company about a couple of issues. And there was a punch list that was gone through. And then we've had a couple of the contractors come back and voluntarily correct things in the building. And then there are some things that just by design and the amount of I would call it affluent or water flow, we need to flush or create some type of mechanism to pump, water through the sanitary sewer or the sewer part of it. I think that's some of what we're looking at is do we need to, in other words, it was built the way it was designed and it's just not working effectively to flush out certain things on the sewer side. So we're looking at different ways to take care of that. So we could address that with the state's attorney's office and talk to them about it, but I believe it was built the way it was designed. I don't believe it was a defect necessarily in the construction of it. It was designed a certain way based on certain understanding of the tenants and the type of work that they were doing, specifically the corner and the garage, and looking at the amount of flow that comes through the sanitary sewer. That's kind of getting into the details. I don't know if you want to get any further, but we could certainly pick it up with the civil division and ask them if there's anything more we could do. I think that right now, we're probably pushing 3 years out of warranty and understanding that there's a particular issue with certain sanitary sewer flow, and it's not something that's unmanageable. It's just we're trying to figure out a long-term solution.
Mostly from the coroner's office, I think, what you
Yeah.
shared with me.
There was another challenge with water softeners in the building, and we're addressing that with the contractor. They came in and agreed to take care of a lot of it. And then there's some things that the maintenance directors decided they thought would be better enhancements as they did that. So there's some more work that was going to be done. involved whether or not you do water softening for part of the building or all of the building. Or most of the building, I should say. And they were going to make some changes to that. And, you know, if you take a maintenance director's opinion of it, they may say that that was something that was designed not the way they wanted it. I don't know if it was, I wouldn't describe it as a flaw or something that the architect missed. It's just that's the way it was designed. That's the way it was built. And now you have different people looking at it than those that were there when they built the original plan set. So the original plan set was a cooperative event between the building management team at the time. You had a board representative on that team. You had architects on it. Collectively, they came up with a plan set, and that's what they built. And I do think that the building substantially represents what was in the plans. Now have new people looking at it, and they have different opinions and want different types of features in the building. So I know water softener was one, the storm or the sanitary sewer was the other.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I request that the department make a list of anything that they feel is wrong, whether it's a construction defect or design defect, and let the state attorney pursue this.
Oh, sure.
We want them to pay, and we don't want taxpayer to pay for some defects that we did not cause.
Fine, absolutely. And that could
Do
be
that.
brought to admin.
Okay, we'll work with the state's attorney to build a list. Is that what we want? Of what we think might be out there?
I think not of the small, of the large, if there's anything impactful. I think certainly if the affluents that we're talking about for the sewer, and if you brought up the water softener, just so we have a better understanding.
Not to digress, but just something simple. In the original design, one of the thermostats was too close to one of the overhead doors. So every time you open the overhead door, it would kick the thermostat on and turn on all the heat. So we moved the thermostat.
And that saved money on the electric bill.
I mean, it was just that the design had the thermostat by a door when it opened. So moving the thermostat fixed that. That was out of warranty, and we just paid to have it moved.
You should not be paying for the movement of the thermostat for the design defect. Why it was located at the point?
I'm just saying, in the plan set, the construction people built it the way it was designed, and it didn't work right. So we moved it. But I mean, those are the types of things over 3-4 years you have to deal with.
All right, I think we've had enough discussion. We've had
Thank
recommendation. Clerk, could you please call the roll? 2315.
2315, Allen,
Allen, aye.
Bates,
Bates, aye.
Berman, yes.
Doherty,
Doherty, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford. Mr. Ford. Gums,
yes.
Iqbal,
Well, no.
okay. Juby,
Juby, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Huff, Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Silva,
Silva, yes.
Rathman,
Rathman, yes.
Surgis, Tarver,
Tarver, yes.
Tepe,
Debbie, yes.
Williams,
Williams, yes.
Young,
Young, yes.
Ford, did you have a vote? Okay, passes.
Okay, very good. May I please have a motion and a second to approve item number 23-20?
Sanchez moves.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez.
Davis, second.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Mr. Williams.
No discussion for me.
Okay.
I'm abstaining.
Abstain. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have one question about this. It looks like this is a grant that we're getting from the state of Illinois. Is that 100% of the funds allocated, or is the grant a partial amount of that? I was just wondering.
Whose department is this under? Ms. Walnick?
The consulting services for Huddleston McBride Drainage Company are paid for by the Riverboat Fund, so it was a grant from internal Riverboat.
100%.
Yes, 100%. Any other questions? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Allen,
Allen, aye.
Bates,
Bates, yes.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Doherty,
Doherty, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford, Gums,
Gums, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Juby,
Maybe yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Yes, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Silva,
Silva, yes.
Strathman,
Strathman, yes.
Surges,
Burgess, yes.
Tarver. Tarver? Oh, he's gone?
Out a minute.
Okay, thank you. Tepe,
That'd be yes.
Williams,
Williams abstain.
all right, and Young.
Young, yes.
It passes.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Last item, well, we have several more after this. Item number 23-31. Motion
Thank
and
you,
a
Madam
second.
Chair.
We
I
have a-
motion.
And do I have a second?
Leonard seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Leonard. Ms. Gums?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just would like to, I pulled this because the of our health department needs to be addressed here. This initiative is thinking outside of the box. They have been working their tails off. I want to commend them on their hard work throughout the pandemic and not forgetting about this opioid issue. Reaching out, we have some new money that will be coming towards us, the Opioid Crisis Response Advisory Council. We're going to be working with them. Also, there's actually Mark Gavilar sent me a message and said that the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service Administration increased the funding for the next 5 years. So there's a lot of good things that are happening, and thinking outside the box from our health department, I would just like to praise them because it's not just one individual unit of government or one individual community group that affects this change. So we all have to work together, and I just want to applaud them, and I support this resolution completely.
Thank you for those kind words. Anybody else? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Ellen,
Aye.
Bates,
Bates, yes.
Berman,
Yes.
Doherty,
Yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford, Gums,
Gums, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Juby,
Shiva, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder,
Yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Silva.
Silva,
Dr.
yes.
Thank you. Strathman,
Strathman, yes.
Surges,
Burgess, yes.
Tarver,
Carver, yes.
Tepe,
That'd be yes.
Williams,
Williams, yes.
Young.
Young, yes.
That passes.
Very good. It is a amazing opportunity for us to serve the people in need. And the need is great and mighty. All right. May I have a motion and a second to approve item number 23-50?
Tepe moves.
Thank you, Mr. Tepe. Second,
With second.
Molina will second.
Mr. Kenyon
Let
has.
Molina have it.
Ms. Molina. Any discussion on this item? Yes,
Yes,
Mr.
Madam Chair. This resolution asks for $2.2 million for a software, and it goes for 10 years of lease. I would oppose that. Last time when it was first presented, the gentleman said that the program would be given to every employee in the state attorney's office. And I believe this is a very specific program for e-discovery, and not every employee or not even every attorney needs that. So the need has to be narrowly figured out. And that was my concern. We cannot have hundreds of licenses for this program. And based on that, I think the figure should be reduced. And 10 years is a long time. New technologies will come, and we cannot obligate the future boards.
Future board.
We are only responsible for this year.
Ms. Moser.
Thank you. I have approximately 177 employees. This is actually for 100 employees. So we are being very specific as to who would use this. We're limiting that to attorneys and to the support staff who specifically deal with our e-discovery. and then also to other technological people in the office who have to change or modify body cameras, for example, that we get. So when we turn this over, if we have a child in the body camera, we have to be able to kind of mask out that child's identity. So we are being very selective in who we get, but we also understand the office is growing over the years. So it's also built in that we'll get new licenses over time as we grow, because criminal behavior, unfortunately, continues to go forward. So hopefully that answers that first question. Please note that this is also for the public defender's office, not just for the state's attorney's office. They are also being very selective in terms of who they're applying that to make sure that we keep the cost as low as possible. The second part, the reason why we chose 10 years is because now we are locked in with them. This technology is only going to grow and get more expensive. And now we have the cheapest rate over the next 10 years because they cannot increase it any more than what we have contractually agreed to already. We did this in consultation with Mr. Fonstock, who I believe can also attest to the fact that this type of technology is only going to get more expensive, especially with the storage of the sheer amount of body cameras and other technology that we are going to have. So this is actually going to be cheaper overall. To address, though, that there is going to be new technology, I agree, there's always going to be new technology, but Mr. Ortiz from my office did a very thorough vetting of everything. This is the platinum standard of technology that we have, and it's also utilized by the Aurora Police Department and the Elgin Police Department, who are by far and away the biggest producers of all the criminal cases that we have. There's also several other departments throughout all of Kane County that use this. I am aware of other state's attorney's office like DuPage County, who's going to be purchasing this as well, because it is the platinum standard in terms of evidence retention. So hopefully that answers the questions that you have. I'm more than happy to discuss this further. Mr. Ortiz offered, and I believe Mr. Tepe came over to take a look at what evidence.com does, but this is going to vastly improve both my office and Ms. Conant's office in terms of our discovery response.
Does that answer your question, sir?
Yeah, that's satisfactory. I think the last time the gentleman who came and he said it was to be given to every employee, and that was not satisfactory. So state attorney cleared it up, and that's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Madam Chair, may I comment?
Yes, Mr. Tepe.
Tempe here. As was mentioned, I went over and spent about 2 hours looking at this particular software. Like you, Mr. Ekbal, I had some concerns about just how far reaching and how effective it would be. I was extremely impressed, not only with the fact that it will enable them to interface much easier with several police departments in the county that are using it. It'll also enable them to interface much easier with those people that are that have to be given discovery information. It will also aid them in producing detailed documents, because this will actually translate verbal conversations, whether in English or Spanish. So there's a decent number of really effective items in this particular software that I was extremely impressed by. So I just hope that it lives up to my expectations too.
Madam Chair, Bates, please.
Yes, Ms. Bates.
One more question for the state's attorney. I can imagine that this 10-year contract will include umpteen updates as fixes and improvements to the technology. So as the 10 years go by and technology improves, I imagine, and I hope you can confirm that updates will be coming along as the technology improves.
Yes, Roger, please go ahead.
This is Roger Fonstock again with IT.
Roger, microphone.
Sorry. We're going to get this fixed too.
Thank you.
The software itself is software as a service. So the company is being contracted with as a service provider to maintain the software, update the software, do the training, subsequent training, provide support to the staff that use it. IT and the folks inside of the state's attorney's office that support it, they'll be trained and learn how to use it as well as the IT department. But we do have the support through the software provider which
Great.
is Axon. So I have no reservations about the upgrades.
It's not a static 10-year software.
No,
It will
no,
be
it's
growing and
constantly
moving forward.
updated.
Thank you.
Yep, new features too. We'll get new
Mhm.
features as they roll out.
Good, thanks.
And the one thing, Mr. Iqbal is always cognizant of finances, is that by having this interface that works well with other districts, whether it's another county or another municipality, there's not the downtime of doing the translation and uploading and the time of being able to figure out what platform they're working in. So it's, I know there's Apple fans and there's PC fans. And if you're a PC fan, Microsoft was so effortless for all of us and then Apple reached out and wanted an Apple version. So now Apple and the PCs can talk to each other if you use Microsoft and other, but I'm just using that as an example that we're all familiar with. So this would do the same thing. Okay, if there's no other discussion, clerk, please call the roll.
Ellen,
Ellen, aye.
Bates,
Bates, yes.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Doherty,
yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford, Gums,
Gums, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Juby, Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Lena,
Molina, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Silva,
Silva, yes.
Strathman,
Strathman, yes.
Surges,
Yes.
Tarver,
Tarver, yes.
Pepe,
Deppie, yes.
Williams,
Williams, yes.
Young.
Young, yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Last item, may I have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance number 22-482?
Surges moves.
Thank you, Mr.
Sanchez
Surges.
seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Discussion.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Surges.
And Jamie, thank you for coming down. Sometimes we text our staff and say, can you run down really quick? And she's always so wonderful on this. My understanding on this is that our earlier resolution 23-08, which talked about moving a department from the sheriff's office back to the county, that this is the ordinance that supports that, or at least the red line versions on item number 4 and number 6. Is that fundamentally correct?
Probably, yes.
This particular ordinance.
Let's,
I'm
Michelle.
sorry, my name is Michelle Neerman. I'm the chief of the civil division of the Kane County State's Attorney's Office. This particular ordinance was introduced at last board meeting. It amends section -2-48 of the Kane County Code. It reflects current reporting structure for the Office of Emergency Management to JPS. The code currently reflects that OEM reports to public health, which is not reflective of current practice.
Got it. So I think we just said the exact same thing.
You did.
Okay, perfect.
She said it much better.
You said it much better. I agree.
Well, you learn over and over again.
Okay, so we're
Don't
only
touch the
modifying,
stone
we're only modifying number 4 on this at this moment. All right, any other questions on this? Okay, hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Ellen,
Ellen, aye.
Bates,
Bates, yes.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Doherty,
Aye.
Davis,
Yes.
Gums. Ms. Gums,
Gums is a yes.
okay, Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Juby,
Juby, aye.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Silva,
Silva, yes.
Strathman,
Strathman, yes.
Surges,
Surges, yes.
Tarver,
Tarver, yes.
Tepe,
Deppie, yes.
Williams,
Williams, yes.
Young.
Young, yes.
Okay, very good, thank you. So I do believe we're going to be going into executive session, is that correct?
Yes, Madam Chair, before we go into executive, new
Yes.
business.
Yeah,
Kane.
yes, ma'am.
Hi, Gums here. Just really quick, some new business, and I do apologize. It's last minute, but it was a last minute brilliant idea. So the treatment alternative court graduation is scheduled for Thursday, the 12th of January. I do not have a proclamation, but would like to submit that we could create a proclamation proclaiming Charles M., who is the only graduate on that day, to be his day by the county board.
Why is that? Why are we setting that precedent? I'm not saying he deserves it, but why are we setting that precedent?
To show support, because it matters every single time I go to a graduation. They are so appreciative that the county board is there to support them. So I think it's a great precedent to set.
I think it's notable, but I'm not seeing a lot of nods of approval right now by the board. I think all of our graduates who passed this should be recognized and supported because of the trials and tribulations, sincerely, that they've had to go through. But to call
I do
out
not
one,
disagree. No, I do not disagree. I think going forward, that would be a great precedent. Got to start sometime.
so I think we should just recognize the Corps and the work that they do, and perhaps a special presentation at the committee of the whole, so that new board members are understanding of what good work they've done and the successes that they've achieved. And hopefully we can get a report from some of the graduates of their long-term success, which would be most welcomed. So thank you for that, Ms. Gums, and we'll move forward on that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Other new business, Madam Chair, just Surges, up at the north end, I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but I'll be attending a wake tonight for the former mayor of Gilbert's, Everett Clark. Everett served as a village trustee for 20+ years, served as mayor, has always been active in the community, and our condolences go out to him and his entire family.
Thank you for that. Absolutely. Absolutely. Anybody else? None? All right. Could Ms. Neerman, could you please give us the language to go into executive session, please?
Madam Chair, we would recommend that a motion be made to go into closed session to discuss the appointment, employment compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees and pending litigation.
Linder so moves.
Leonard.
Second.
Leonard seconds.
Roth second.
Rothel second. Thank you. All right. Are you ready? We need the vote. I'm sorry. Absolutely. Hold on a second. Got it.
All right, roll call to go into closed session. Allen,
Alan, I.
Bates,
Bates, yes.
Berman,
Yes.
Doherty,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
it's not here, Gums,
Comes, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Juby,
Yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Lewis,
Louis, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Sanchez, yes.
Silva,
Silva, yes.
Strathman,
Strathman, yes.
Surges, Tarver,
Tarver, yes.
Pepe, Williams,
Williams, yes.
Young.
Young, yes.
That passes.
Very good. Okay, we're now going into closed session.
Anybody online that's joining us in closed session, please accept your invite to go in.
What are you doing?
All right.
Hopefully you're not bored.
Say again?
You're not bored.
Oh my gosh, no, it's fascinating.
At least you over here just laughing at me.
Stuff that I'm not aware of, you know.
Amy.
Another roll call.
Out of the barn.
It's leaving.
You never bring any.
Yes, we seem to be missing a couple of names.
And then when you want to do something, I have.
A guy left, I let him leave. And she called, wanted a recommendation, and I told the lady, I'd burn the barn back before I let him come back.
For 16 years.
Say, burn the barn down.
And we're back.
Okay, you are back in open session.
We are back in open session. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Ellen present. Bates,
Bates present.
Berman,
Herman's here.
Doherty,
Already present.
Davis,
That was here.
Ford, Gums,
Comes here.
Present.
B. Kenyon. Caius. Leonard,
Leonard present.
Lewis,
Lewis here.
Linder,
You're present.
Alina,
Molina present.
Roth,
Roth here.
Sanchez,
Sanchez present.
Silva,
Silva is here.
Strathman,
Rathman here.
Surges, Carver,
Harvard's here.
Tepe,
Still here.
Williams, here, and Young.
Young here.
The quorum.
Okay, very good. May I have a motion and a second to adjourn to February
I would like
14th?
to move, we adjourn, but one thing I'd like to say, a couple months ago, we were talking about any increases in taxes. My fire district is going to increase the maximum. My school district is going to go up 5.3%. And the state of Illinois just increased their wages 18%. So where are we at?
Very forward thinking.
I move we adjourn. You can-
I'll second the motion to adjourn.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Have a great day, everybody.